This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with Jim.
I never thought I'd be happy to pay more tax. Nobody would have. But the system was overhauled. We all pay our fair share now, and all the money raised in Scotland is spent by Scotland for Scotland.
In The Wealth of Nations, the pioneering economist Adam Smith argued that taxation should follow the principles of fairness, certainty, convenience and efficiency. And many would argue that's what New Scotland has achieved. But how did it happen?
Well, you see, tax loopholes were closed, and everyone now pays tax on the land and assets they hold. Wages are higher, so now everyone pays more tax, and we still end up with more money in our pockets. Another thing, our state pension is now far better. It compares very well with other European countries.
Scotland's new taxation system has empowered the nation to realise its true worth and to share it.
You know, Scotland is a wealthy country through enormous energy resources, world-class food and drink, and brilliant tourist industry. Our strong trade links within the EU and other close neighbours has never been better. This enables us to have regular ferry services to 7 European ports. Add to that, being in charge of our own energy production allows us to provide serious funding for home insulation, resulting in much lower bills. With better wages and fair taxation, we have almost eradicated poverty and homelessness. Food banks, clothing banks, and for me, best of all, warm banks are a distant memory.
For Jim, it's clear that controlling our own affairs has been vital to fully realising the wealth of our nation.
Scotland is now prospering as a country, and so are we its citizens. What a great day it was when we ended 300 years of economic lockdown and took back control of our own affairs.
Sean Harris, Scottish Vision. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with Kelly, Director of a membership organisation representing charities, social enterprises and good causes across Scotland.
Along with the vast majority of Scots, I value people, place and planet for the many above profit, power and privilege for the few. Now no one is left behind.
And it's undeniable that Scotland is now a fairer, more equitable and inclusive place, with charities morphing into modern cooperatives and joint ventures. Those have infused business and commerce with a firm focus on purpose and well-being for all Scottish citizens and their communities, something that was only made possible when Scotland took charge of its own affairs.
At the election, I happily voted yes, as I realised that along with others in Scotland, we must vote on values, not just tinkering with policies or idly waiting for things to get better. It's not that Scotland has better values than others. It's just, it was clear that staying in the UK with its increasingly divergent values was never going to deliver the fair and inclusive society we desired.
It's fascinating to witness how Scotland's age-old principle of the sovereignty of the people is now writ large, based on the claim of right expressed throughout the centuries, now re-energised as the basis for a true democratic constitution.
And now we're citizens, not subjects. All people here are valued and they create value, and that value stays here, flowing within and between our communities, embracing and embedding the Scottish values of fairness, kindness and care within the rich tapestry, or should I say tartan, of our wonderfully diverse people, old Scots and new.
Kelly has also noticed how values have transformed the way we measure our economy.
We don't use GDP, which is only about money. Instead, we use a well-being index to measure progress and sustainability, to truly gauge our economy and prosperity as it relates to us as citizens directly. We now keep our shared spaces beautiful, and we enjoy a balance between land custodianship and access. And we've created a truly caring society for all. No one is left behind. When someone gains, no one else is expected to lose. Scotland is the most welcoming place in the world. It's not where we come from that matters, it's where we're going together. That's who makes us who we are. It's truly a land where I can now say it's all of us first.
So, for Kelly and many others, independence has meant that these core Scottish values have finally found expression. Sean Harris, Scottish Vision, Stirling. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with John from Stirling.
A man's a man for a' that. Those are the words of Robert Burns from over 200 years ago. And it finally feels like we're realising the equality in our nation that he once dreamt of.
As an immigration lawyer, John consulted on Scotland's new fairness framework that has transformed life for the many.
What's fairer? Well, we treat immigrants with much more humanity than we used to, no matter where they're from or how they got here. We process their paperwork much more quickly than we used to, and we support them in getting housing and jobs, which enables them to live their lives with dignity. They do the jobs we need doing, and they contribute to our society in an incredible way.
Indeed, a major outcome of the fairness framework John helped shape has been a reversal of the population decline that has hindered Scotland for the best part of a century. Our nation isn't so wee anymore. Scotland now outpaces even Ireland in terms of demographic growth and is regarded across the globe as an open, dynamic place to call home. This focus on fairness has changed many other aspects of society, as John explains.
The fairness framework reaches well beyond immigration, of course. Scotland's media, for example, is no longer controlled by a few wealthy individuals and conglomerates. As a result, the coverage is broader, the perception of the media is much more impartial, and as a result, it's trusted more. That need for us to be well informed is underpinned by our right in Scotland to a free education, practically from the cradle all the way through to the grave. Poverty and inequalities have been substantially reduced, leading to better public health. It also has led to a substantial reduction in the pressures on the national health and social care services. That's been driven partly by the creation of far more affordable housing in both the private and the rental markets. And because those homes are well insulated and draft-proof, occupants are no longer worried about energy costs. One of the other benefits of this is that homelessness has been virtually eradicated from Scotland. But I think one of the best changes to have taken place is the reform to our tax system. People now pay tax on how much land and property they own. As a result, it's much more difficult to dodge tax and people pay their fair share. These are some of the things we've done since independence that have contributed to our well-being. People feel far happier because things are much, much fairer.
The benefits brought about by constitutional change have generated huge international interest from countries keen to emulate Scotland's blueprint for a fairer nation.
For all that, and all that, it's coming yet for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that.
And Burns would surely approve. Sean Harris, Stirling. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with Annie from East Kilbride.
Ever since I was a wee lassie, I remember my granddad telling me stories about his past. We're actually quite alike, you see, because he was part of the BP team that struck oil off the coast of Aberdeen.
Fast forward to now, and granddaughter Annie is playing a part in the new golden era of energy prosperity for Scotland. Except there's no drilling the deepest, darkest seabeds of the North Sea.
Whether we're storing the energy for our people or exporting our surpluses for businesses and to make money, Scotland's renewable energy sector is thriving. We're creating a new energy, a cleaner, greener energy that doesn't come at the cost of our oceans or pollute the atmosphere at the back of some exhaust pipe.
Annie is helping to lead the planet in the development, construction and operation of renewable technologies designed to take advantage of Scotland's vast tidal, wind and solar resources. These have the potential to dwarf oil and gas and to transform Scottish society, including how we travel.
Since gaining independence, transport has been revolutionised. Public transport has become greener and more affordable, which makes the decision from getting to A to B a no-brainer for me. For my pals who work closer to home, our towns have become a friendly place for pedestrians and cyclists alike. Most of them cycle to work with no fuss. I guess that's all part of the influence that our world-leading approach has had on our lives.
Sean Harris, Scottish Vision, Ayrshire. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with care worker Linda.
I can't believe how good I feel these days, and I think it's because everyone around me is feeling happier and more confident.
As a care worker, Linda has seen improvements at work, in wider society and on a personal level, which she puts down to Scotland's ability to radically redesign the care system for workers and the people who depend on them.
I love working in the care home, but it wasn't always like that. There used to be staff shortages and people were off with stress, and it's not like that now. Things have definitely changed for the better.
With the right to care, health and a true living wage now enshrined in law, the impact on well-being and the wider economy has been hugely significant.
I'm paid properly for my skills and experience now, but more importantly, the residents are benefiting from the better quality of care. And people have got money in their pockets, so we're more productive, and that benefits the economy because people can afford to buy things.
Linda has also noticed the wider benefits to Scotland's society since becoming independent.
I think Scotland taking care of its own affairs has given us a sense of responsibility as well. You see people out walking and cycling and playing sport, and people have taken on that duty of responsibility for their own health and looking after other people. We need to appreciate what we have actually got. And it's really working. Scotland's already making progress up Europe's League of Wellbeing.
So, for Linda and many others, taking responsibility since Scotland's independence has been good for the nation's constitution in more ways than one. Sean Harris, Scottish Vision, Dunfermline. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with Lachlan.
It's brilliant to be living in a place built for wellbeing. Under the new planning guidance, placemaking and design have benefited greatly from local decision making. People like you and me are asked for our views and, more importantly, listened to. It's about creating communities we all feel better living in.
Lachlan is a member of his local community council, which has wide powers and responsibilities for shaping local decisions. He has seen the impact of collective decisions on his local environment.
The key was listening to the people and businesses in our community to understand their needs and concerns. We then used that understanding to identify the resources, services, infrastructure and amenities that contribute most to wellbeing.
The first stage was to address the town's circulation problem. Lachlan's Community Council helped to develop mixed-use zoning that encourages walkability, reduces traffic congestion and enhances social interaction. Green spaces and parks provide opportunities for outdoor activities, relaxation and community gatherings. Streets are pedestrian and bike friendly, while public transport is efficient and accessible. The impact?
There's way less dependence on private vehicles, which has reduced traffic congestion and pollution. New solar-powered street lighting has helped create a boom in the town's nighttime economy. And with the support of the community police, folk feel safe coming into the town at night. People are simply more active and more interactive with others. There are early indications that these measures are already impacting on life expectancy and on quality of life. Put simply, people here are living better for longer.
And who wouldn't want to live here? The affordable housing promotes inclusivity and social diversity within the town. Healthcare and social services are easily accessible, while local businesses and markets foster a sense of community and reduce the need for long commutes. Meanwhile, the easy access to cultural centres, theatres, museums and sports facilities encourages residents to engage in creative and recreational activities.
And what about leisure? Well, so much is available to everyone, it feels like a normal part of life these days. People are more focused on a healthy lifestyle, but it's not just that. I feel there's a real sense of public value in arts and sports. Perhaps that's because the priorities are set by the citizens and not some unseen bureaucrat. Music, sport and art are offered through all school year groups. Our children and young people have loads of safe spaces to play and hang out to. I'm confident this is a town that will thrive for generations.
It all goes to show a place operates best when it works for its inhabitants. Sean Harris, Scottish Vision. This week on Changing Lives, we catch up with Liz. Liz works in local government with responsibility for improving local democracy and economic development.
Since independence, we've enjoyed full employment locally. Our democratic structures have improved, as they're now based on our progressive Nordic neighbours, and we've got smaller local councils, so we're more accountable. In fact, everything's more accountable and so effective. We've learned that through local decision making and inclusion, more money stays locally too, so we can invest in real jobs, in housing and local improvements. Our taxes and energy resources can now help reduce people's bills and create jobs and homes in rural and redeveloped areas. Our natural resources and people are no longer being exploited by others.
As a local government worker, Liz has seen how our newly refreshed and revitalised democratic structures have cascaded from our Scottish Government right down to the local community, bringing with it the positive impact of independence, which has been felt everywhere from the borders to the Western and Northern Isles. And this rebooting of democracy has also transformed Scotland's international relations.
We joined other small, like-minded Northern European nations that lead the world in well-being and true prosperity. And we enjoy free trade and movement again. So it's meant we've been able to attract super talent from abroad, as Scotland needed more skilled people to meet the needs of its newly burgeoning economy. Our international trade is booming. For example, we've got now over 7 ferry links to the Baltic states alone, and many more throughout Europe. And we use ships run sustainably on Scottish-produced hydrogen that were built in Scottish shipyards again. Scotland's reconnecting.
Scotland is at the top tables throughout the world, no longer projecting power, but promoting peace. And this country is now seen as the most modern example of a truly inclusive, just and prosperous democracy. The United Nations sees Scotland as a laboratory for good, as it leads the world in clean tech, sustainable energy creation and truly democratic systems and institutions. So much so that people from around the world come to see how it's done.
We reached out to the world and within, to every inch of our land and communities, with positive change seen everywhere for everyone. And that's thanks to radically improving the connections we have between our politics, our policies, people and place.
And for Liz, while the process of Scotland's democratic renewal has already achieved so much, this is just the beginning.
We opened our curtains to the world, we threw them wide open, and we saw everything more clearly. We got out there as a free, fair, democratic and prosperous nation, and we've only just started.
Sean Harris, Scottish Vision.